Happy Ryne Sandberg Statue Day, everybody. On the 40th anniversary of the illustrious Ryne Sandberg game, he gets his statue immortalized outside of Wrigley Field. We're going to talk about him and why he is one of the most deserving people to have a statue outside of Wrigley Field. Speaking of which, there's a baseball game tonight at Wrigley Field. Sunday Night Baseball, Cubs and Mets. Cubs looking to take the series after a huge 8-1 win yesterday, characterized by an uncharacteristic explosion from the offense. That and more on the Cubs baseball channel. Make sure to like and subscribe. Get in the comment section. Let us know how you're feeling about this team. Ring the bell, and here is your invitation to our show. Happy Ryne Sandberg Day, everybody. One of the great Cubs of all time is going to be celebrated today at Wrigley Field. My name is Anthony Pasquale, always on Twitter at ant_Pasquale3. Make sure to find me there. Welcome to Cubs baseball channel. A really fun show on hand today as we chop it up about one of the best Cubs of all time. The Ryne Sandberg statue ceremony is today. And I want to just tell a story about a 22-year-old kid that the Cubs acquired from the Philadelphia Phillies. He arrived on the scene in Chicago in 1982, and just 2 years later, he, in part because of WGN and the Cubs' entertaining legendary broadcaster Harry Carey, put the Cubs on the map in a way that they had never been before. Obviously, WGN was around for a while, but a lot of people mark 1984 as that real turning point to when the Cubs really regained and captured so many fans and popularity around the country. And you can give a ton of credit to Harry Carey for that. But the man at the forefront of it on the baseball diamond was number 23, Ryne Sandberg. Ryne Sandberg went on to have one of the best years of any second baseman in history in 1984. 114 runs scored, 19 homers, 84 RBIs. He had 32 steals that season. He hit .314. The Cubs cruised into the playoffs, and Sandberg was an all-star, a gold glover, a silver slugger, and the National League MVP as a second baseman. An outstanding story in 1984 for number 23, and it didn't stop there for Ryne Sandberg. He continued his illustrious career. He finished years later with 10 All-Star games, 9 Gold Gloves, 7 Silver Sluggers. That MVP, he also won a Home Run Derby championship, and he is in the Hall of Fame. 2,386 hits later, 282 home runs later. One of the best Cubs in anybody's lifetime and almost everybody's favorite player. A big reason why is because he just encapsulated what it meant to be a Chicago Cub, and he did it on the field day after day after day. Chicago is kind of known as a city that embraces itself. It loves itself. Chicago people are proud to be from Chicago. They're happy that they're not as flashy as New York or California because they work that much harder and they're just as good. That's what Ryne Sandberg was on the baseball diamond. That's why Chicago fell in love and wrapped their arms around Ryne Sandberg. That's why the rest of the country would turn on their TV when they got home from work or school and would watch Ryne Sandberg's Cubs play. That's why the Chicago Cubs are who they are. A big reason why is because of Ryne Sandberg. And today he gets a statue outside of Wrigley Field to commemorate everything that he's done for this team and this city. His legacy is forever. And this is just another statement to cement that legacy and that history outside of Wrigley Field. You guys saw in the open, he's pouring a beer on Mick, celebrating one of the minor league championships that he won when he was a manager. He just bleeds Cubby blue. And I will say this is a fitting time to celebrate him as he is also battling through cancer and seems to be on the mend. There has been no more cancer detected, I believe, but he's still going through and finishing all his treatment. He's in our thoughts, he's in our prayers, and he's going to be commemorated in a statue outside of Wrigley Field today. Awesome, awesome, awesome stuff. Mick and I are going to talk about him a little bit more tomorrow, but he's one of the best Cubs of all time. And now nobody will be able to argue it. They'll be able to walk, take a picture by his statue. I mean, my whole family, diehard Cubs fans, and everybody's favorite player in my family growing up was Ryne Sandberg. I have a cousin named Ryan, and a big reason why is because of Sandberg. He's Chicago. He's the Chicago Cubs. And, Ernie's Mr. Cub, and Ryan never really had a nickname, but the legend is just as big. And congratulations to him. We're super excited to have that statue. I can't wait to see it next time I'm at Wrigley. But based off of that, there's a few questions that I have, because today, of course, is the 40th anniversary of the Ryne Sandberg game, when he clubbed 2 game-tying late clutch home runs over Hall of Fame closer Bruce Sutter. Both times Bob Costas getting ready to wrap up the game as the Cubs were down and looked out, but not until Samberg stepped up to the plate, whacked 2 home runs in the bleachers, ran the bases like he's done it before, and the Cubs end up winning that game. It's a classic, one of the all-time classic Chicago Cubs games. But it made me wonder, do any other Cubs legends have a game? Like, we talk every year on this day about the Ryne Sandberg game. Is there a Ron Santo game, a Billy Williams game, Ernie Banks? Like, I've never heard it. Like, that's what makes Samberg so legendary. So I'm curious if you guys can think of any other Cubs who have like a legendary game. A few that pop up to me, obviously Kerry Wood's 20 strikeouts, any of the Cubs that threw no hitters, but specifically Jake Arrieta's 2 in that insane stretch come to mind. Chris Bryant hitting 3 homers and 2 doubles in Cincinnati. That one popped into my head. And then Sammy Sosa when he hit his 62nd homer. But there's a lot. So I'm wondering what you guys have to say about that, if any other legends in Cubs history have a game the way Ryne Sandberg does. And then here's a fun question. Who is the next Cub or Cubs to get a statue? Samberg, of course, deserved, long overdue probably, gets his today. Who could be next? Is there going to be one to commemorate somebody or a collection from the 2016 team that won the World Series? Is it going to be like a final out mural with Bryant and Rizzo and Baez and all the guys? Madden, Theo, like there's a lot of different ways you could go for 2016, but it has to be commemorated some way. And then obviously Fergie recently had his statue. What about Sammy Sosa? Are you guys on the side that he should be welcomed back to this franchise? What about Andre Dawson? There's a few other names in there that could potentially get statues as they have their numbers retired as well. But I'm curious of your guys' thoughts of who are the next Cub or Cubs, if you think it is going to be that mural 2016 type of thing to get a statue. Let us know in the comment sections what you're thinking there. But Cubs destroyed the Mets yesterday, 8-1. That was awesome. We've been talking so much lately about how we've wanted this offense to just explode and beat a team. Like, not win by 1 or 2 runs, but just kick a team's ass. And they did yesterday. They beat the Mets 8-1. They rode a hot 5-run first inning to the win. A big reason why was, I think, Craig Counsell put together his best lineup of the year. Nico Horner 1, Michael Busch 2, Cody Bellinger 3, Seiya Suzuki 4. Great start. Ian Happ 5. Christopher Morel batted 6th. Went down to the 6th hole. Then Swanson 7, Pete Crow-Armstrong 8, and Thomas Nido 9. I was really impressed with him. I'll get into that in just a little bit, but I think that balance in the lineup is great. There's no easy out anywhere. I think it's stacked pretty well, right, left for the most part. I like dropping Morel from 4 to 6. He's got as much pop as any 4-hitter in the league, but he just doesn't have the consistency of putting the ball in play and driving it like a 3 or 4-hitter should. You put him at 6, you get the bonus of the pop, and you don't feel as bad if he doesn't come through in the clutch, because guys like Bellinger and Suzuki and Happ tend to put the ball in play a little bit better in those situations. So you get those guys up there, and Happ's a good on-base guy, so he's going to be on base a lot for when Morel bats 6. It just flowed really well. So I really like that lineup. Morel hit a homer out of that 6th hole, had a pair of hits, pair of RBI, pair of runs. Really good game from him. Thomas Nido against his old team, the Cubs, or now a Cub, of course, against the Mets, had an RBI double. It's amazing how deep this lineup looks when the catcher hits. And the Cubs haven't gotten much out of that from Miguel Amaya or Yan Gomes. And I know it's only one game for Nido, but he looked really good behind the plate. The pitching staff had 14 strikeouts and seemed very comfortable with the way he called the game behind home plate. which was really good to see. And then he had an RBI double at the plate, which was also a nice plus as well from Nido. But a storyline that we cannot go without talking about, Jameson Taillon. He had his 6th quality start and by far his best outing of the season. 7 innings, 1 run, 10 strikeouts. He was great. His ERA is down to 2.90 on the season. And he finally got rewarded with a win. It had been a while. He had been churning out quality starts, but the Cubs hadn't given him the run support. And boy, did they show up with the bats yesterday. Hopefully they can continue that today. Crow-Armstrong had a huge day as well, had a triple, and also came around to score a second time when he got on via a single. He just wreaks havoc on the base paths, and it just impacts the game so much, brings so much energy. I love when he's out there on the field, and I just think this lineup flowed really well, and I'd like to see it again today when the Cubs are on Sunday Night Baseball on ESPN. They're taking on the Mets again. It's obviously Ryne Sandberg Day. It's going to be a big day at the ballpark. The 84 Cubs were in the house yesterday, and I think they brought a lot of juice to the stadium and the fans, and I think the Cubs fed off of that and won a ball game yesterday, and hopefully they can go out there and do the same today with Javier Baez on the mound, 3-3 on the season with a 2.75 ERA. He's going up against Luis Severino, the former Yankee, current Met, who's 4-2 on the year with a 3.52 ERA. Both of these pitchers have faced their respective teams earlier this season. I will say Severino was excellent against the Cubs earlier this season. I believe he took a no-hitter pretty deep into that game. I'm checking the stats right now to try to find it. It was April 29th. He went 8 innings, allowed just 1 run on 1 hit, struck out 5. So he went deep into that ball game and had a very good outing. So he's a guy that hopefully the Cubs can get to this time around. He hasn't been the best pitcher for the Mets, but he was excellent against the Cubs the first time around. Now they get another crack at him. Assad also started against the Mets this season. He had 5 innings of 1-run ball, striking out 1. So the Mets put in play on him, but he kept runs off the board. So it should be a good pitching matchup at Wrigley. It's going to be hot again, so I assume the wind will be blowing out like it has been all week at Wrigley, and hopefully the Cubs can take advantage and put some more runs on the board. But that's all we have for you today on the Cubs Baseball Channel. Thank you so much for tuning in and joining us. Jump in the comments section and let us know your favorite Ryne Sandberg story and any of those other answers to some of our questions. Do any other Cub legends have a game? And who do you think are the next statues that are going to be outside of Wrigley? But for now, like and subscribe. Let us know how we're doing. Jump in that comment section. Tell us what you want to see more of. And really quick, I want to recap the NL Central standings before we go. The Cubs are no longer in last place. The Cubs are in 4th place. The Brewers are on top of the division. St. Louis, 5 games behind them in 2nd. The Pirates, 6.5 games behind them in 3rd. The Cubs, 4 games, or in 4th place, 7 games behind the Brewers, just a half game behind the Pirates for 3rd. And then the Reds, who lost yesterday, are down to 7.5 games back in last place. The Cardinals have won 2 in a row. The Brewers have lost 3 in a row. The Padres have stuck it to them pretty good in this series. But that'll do it again for us on the Cubs Baseball Channel. Assad on the mound tonight as the Cubs look for the win on Ryne Sandberg Day. Hopefully when we talk to you guys tomorrow, we recap an awesome day at Wrigley Field that ends with a W. Go Cubs, go.